confession time. I have been known to ask random strangers in the pub about their pensions, but not everyone finds it as easy to talk about money as I do. However, talking about money with a partner is an important part of building a healthy relationship, regardless of where you are at. Making a habit of talking about money is a great platform on which to build financial well-being in your lives. Financial education is my job. I'm here to help you understand how to budget, save, invest, spend sensibly, and a whole lot of other things too. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to see more of this type of content in the future. So what questions should you ask a partner if you are in the early stages of dating? Well, you probably don't want to get too deep into the details at this stage, but it is good to start as you mean to go on. The key here is to keep it fun and kind of aspirational. No one should be asking for proof of the claims that have been made, and you shouldn't ask any questions that you wouldn't be prepared to answer yourself. Aim to ask these questions over dinner, or what's that one about enjoying each other's company on a walk, for example, rather than scheduling them into your joint Google Calendar and sending a request. So let's have a look at the sorts of questions you might want to think about asking. What are your goals in life? Where did you grow up? What holidays have you been on recently? What do your parents do? What is the plan for your career? If you won £10,000, what would you do with it? A lot of these can be phrased as just getting to know you type questions, and you might be able to brainstorm a few similar ones to follow on from these. So let's move on and let's look at what sorts of things you might want to ask if things are getting a bit more serious. So this is when you want a few more details. Let's face it, you want to know what you're letting yourself in for. And if they've got a financially dubious background, then you might need to rethink your decisions and work on a solution together. The aim here is to unearth any big concerns, but also look towards what your future together might be like. You could try some of the following questions. Do you think that your parents were good with money? What do you do with money left over at the end of the month? Do you have any debts? How do you feel about debt? Are you comfortable telling me how much you earn? Do you have any other financial obligations? What luxuries will you never give up? Do you own a house? Would you like to? Do you want kids someday? Depending on the answers that come up, you might have to follow up with some more questions. But you need to remember that just because you are ready to ask these questions doesn't mean that they are ready to answer them. You also need to know that they might well have some questions like this for you. So think about what you might say in response and how comfortable you would feel answering these questions. So moving on then, what about if you're engaged? Now this is when you need some serious answers. You don't want to walk into a marriage and find out that there's a whole load of financial problems that have been hidden from you for the last few years. Likewise, you want to be on the same page going forwards, whatever that situation may look like. On top of this, you might have questions about the wedding itself and how that is going to be funded. So here are some questions that you might want to know the answers to before you say the big I do. So what is the extent of your debt? What is your credit score? Can we discuss a prenup? Do you have a pension? How do you want to manage your money as a married couple? How are we going to pay the bills? Have you considered working part-time or giving up work to support young children or elderly family members? When would you like to retire? If we can't conceive naturally, how much would we be willing to spend on fertility treatment? Do you think we will need to support your parents financially in the future? How much do we want to spend on our wedding? Where is that money going to come from? Again, this is just a snapshot of the potential questions that you might want to ask. And not all of these will be relevant to your situation. For example, you might not want kids, and that is fine. You don't need to ask those questions, but you might want to think about other situations like, do you want to travel? How are we going to pay for that? Do you have savings already lined up for this sort of thing? This is probably the stage where you want to deal with the real figures. So bring along your bank statements, your credit card statements, and anything else that is relevant to that conversation. It might also be a good time to trial managing your finances as a couple. You could decide that you want to keep money separate, so carry on as you are. Or you might want to open a joint account and share access to your collective income. If you have big purchases coming up, such as a wedding or buying a house or starting a family, then you might want to think about how you will save to make these things happen. Every partnership is going to have its own set of questions that need asking, so think about them ahead of time. So what sort of questions should you ask going forwards? Whether you are married or just in a long-term serious relationship, you want to make sure that you keep the conversation of money firmly on the table. Your situations are going to change over the course of your lifetimes, so it's worth making sure that your finances are an ongoing conversational topic. You can ask things like, what are our main financial goals? What money is available to us to spend on fun this month? What luxuries are we going to allow into our lives? What's coming up in our futures that we need to prepare for? What mistakes have we made and what can we do to address them? It's also worth making time at least once a month to review your financial situation and make some plans for the month ahead. This could include reflecting on your spending over the last month, planning out your budget, reviewing your net worth, and monitoring your progress towards your current financial goals. Financial well-being is important, and if you share the responsibility for looking after it, then it requires half the effort. As always, make sure that you check back to the Looking After Your Pennies YouTube channel for more financial education, brought to you twice a week. Bye!